Hi, everybody. This is Elder Bill with Christ the Ark of Salvation Ministries, and I want to thank you for joining me at the Ark. Today, let's talk about vision. All right, I'm diabetic currently. We're believing God, but currently I'm diabetic. And the one thing I found by being a diabetic is how drastically your body is affected by what you put in it. So recently I went to the doctor because I was starting to see that my left eye started looking washed out. When I saw things, it looked washed out. So I went to the doctor. She looked at my eyes and she said, okay, your left eye has a cataract. We're going to keep an eye on it. If it gets worse, we can remove it. That's simple. She said, but the thing that concerns me is your right eye, because your right eye is starting to have blood in it. And I was like, wow. And she said, but here's the good thing. You told me you changed your diet and you told me that you began to exercise. If you continue with that, that blood should dissipate and you should be okay. Now, I began to think after that. And I started remembering John, the 3rd chapter and the 3rd verse. This is where Nicodemus comes to see Jesus at night. And, you know, he goes through the whole thing. Master, we know you're a teacher sent from God. No one can do these miracles that you do except by God. And Jesus makes this statement: except a man be born again, he cannot see the kingdom of God. Now, all my life, I've thought when he made that statement, he was referring to, you know, like, you're not going to make it in. You know, you can't see it. You ain't going to even see the kingdom of God because you can't make it in. But in my research, I realized that's not what he was referring to. Now, in the 5th verse, he says, unless you're born of the water and of the Spirit, you cannot enter into the kingdom of God. But in that 3rd verse, when he says you can't see the kingdom of God, he's talking about you cannot physically see. You cannot see. He's talking about vision. You can't see the kingdom of God, which made me understand that the believer has sight that the world does not have. The believer can see the hand of God. The believer can see the move of God. The believer can see the victory from God. The believer has vision that the world does not have. But as in the physical, your spiritual vision can be affected by what you take in. And it's never been more important to watch your intake than in this pandemic. Through the monotony of this pandemic, we found ourselves stuck at home and just desperate for some change, for some difference, for something to break that monotony. Consequently, we find ourselves on social media more often. We find ourselves watching reality TV shows, searching for movies, any movies to break the monotony of what's going on. We start picking up books and reading all kinds of stuff to break the monotony. We start following the news to break the monotony. And all of this stuff has begun to adversely affect our spiritual vision. Because keep in mind, while we're doing all of this, what we're getting less of is that assembling together of the brethren. We can't come into the church. We can't sit in the presence of believers. We can't do any of that stuff because of this pandemic. And consequently, it's had an adverse effect on our spiritual vision. Let's do a test. It's simple enough. We can test this. We'll do a quick exam. Are you finding it more difficult to see victory in your trials? Are you noticing that you're having more trials? Are you noticing that your faith is just getting weaker because you're not seeing where God is going to do anything? Are you seeing a delay and response from God? Are you struggling to see just his hand move? Well, a lot of that comes from you taking in things that are affecting your spiritual vision. However, don't you worry. We got a solution for that because, like the doctor told me, all you got to do is change your diet and exercise. So, hey, I'm going to give you a diet real quick that you can go ahead and take in. All right? And then we'll move on to the exercise. Here's my diet for you. Philippians 4 and 8. Eat on a little of that Philippians 4 and 8. Here's what it says. Finally, brethren, whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are honest, whatsoever things are just, whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are of good report, if there be any virtue, if there be any praise, think on these things. You start to do that. You start to take in a little of that Philippians 4 and 8, and you'll find that your vision starts to come back. You'll find that you'll be able to see God move more readily. You'll be able to see His Spirit affect things more readily. You'll be able to see your victory again. Let's go through that diet once more. Whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are honest, whatsoever things are just, whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are of good report, if there be any virtue, if there be any praise, think on these things. So that handles the diet. You start to change your diet and your spiritual body starts to shift. You start to change your body, your diet, and your spiritual body starts to gain strength again. It starts to reinforce all aspects. Your faith, your vision, your power starts to be restored. But it doesn't stop there, because we need to exercise. Okay, let's talk about the exercise. So what do you want us to do? I want you to do spiritual push-ups. That's what I want you to do. What are you talking about, Bill? Are you kidding me? There are spiritual push-ups. Here's how a spiritual push-up works. You get down on your knees and you pray. You get up and you praise. You get down and you pray. You get up and you praise. You get down and you pray. You get up and you praise. Those are spiritual push-ups. Change your diet, begin to exercise, and you'll see your vision become clear. Clear as glass. Clear as water. You'll be able to see God again. So let me ask you, how's your vision? That's my time. This is what we call a short stack. And I'll see you next time at the Ark.